Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Great Malabite, action.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Victoria Tundu.
Good morning.
Abiola. Various shades of blue.
Yeah.
And simple but classic.
Efeni the poet, the romantic poet.
Now, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Salami, with debt service to revenue at 98%. Nigeria's borrowing unsustainable. Asks federal government to sell off 900 billion naira debt assets to enhance fiscal position. Nigeria's public debt grows to 35 trillion naira, says DMO, Debt Management Office. Yes, Dr. Doyin Salami, the chairman of the Presidential Advisory Council, is speaking. At least now we know that somebody is advising the president. And the prescription which Dr. Doyin Salami has given, we just read, to improve revenue, therefore, the economist said the government must block leakages, unlock opportunities at state level, improve tax efficiency, that is the one Ruben is afraid of, and coverage, and sell off debt assets which are estimated at $900 billion. Yes. Now, some time ago, the former president once told his advisors, while swearing them in, you can give advice, but I don't have to take your advice. We remember that president. Mm-hmm. Now we have heard from Dr. Doyin Salami. So we cannot say that nobody is advising the president, but it's the administration going by the advice, the prescription of these economies, because you know that counts when it was set up, made up of distinguished economists, financial experts, including my brother, Bismarck Rowane. And we've been wondering, are these guys really giving any advice? But here we have the advice, cutting costs. And you ask, whatever happened to the Oronsaye panel report to contract the size of government, but reduce the size of government as it were? But we just move on to other stories quickly. Still on the front page of this day, military airstrike hits Yobe civilians in error. Nigerian Air Force probes incident as governor mourns victims. Yes, this happens sometimes in military confrontation. It happened recently when the U.S. drone struck a compound just as they were leaving Afghanistan. But this one that happened in Buhari village, in Yunus Sari local government area of Yobe State, yes, it's a good thing. The Air Force is already probing how this error came about with a view to avoiding another occurrence. But the persons involved must be identified and their families compensated. And that, I hope the federal government will do. Now, the Guardian newspaper will judge you by the company you keep. Federal government warns Southwest agitators. Buhari to address UN General Assembly on Tuesday. Gbajabiamila denies comparing IPOB, Yoruba Nation, agitators with Boko Haram, ISWAP. IPOB not a terrorist organization, says Ohaneze. Speaker has lost touch with realities of the present situation, says Afenifere and YOV. 65% of Nigerians question country's continuous existence as a nation, according to a report. Independence Day, youths announce nationwide protest, list 9 demands. Now, we'll go by this report. Well, if you look for the headlines of this Guardian report, you won't see it in the first 4 paragraphs of this story. But somewhere thereafter, the story, the headline is there. But the first few paragraphs talked about Nigerians who are protesting and are ready to protest at the head office of the headquarters of the United Nations, where the president is expected, President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to also address the General Assembly. And these groups that are protesting include Ilana Omo Odua, representing Yoruba land, Lower Niger Congress, representing the South-South, and the Southeast and Middle Belt Renaissance Movement, representing the Middle Belt region. They were seen displaying placards with different inscriptions as they march to the UN headquarters. Now, why is the federal government warning Yoruba agitators about the company you keep? I don't know when the company you keep became an offense in Nigeria. Ruben, is there a new law? Tundu, is there a new law that when you keep some company, you are endangering yourself? Now, the Daily Independent newspaper puts it this way: Yoruba nation agitators bond with IPOB worries presidency. Separatists leading nation to destruction. Gbajabiamila says reps to prioritize efforts at firming security architecture. Now, the Punch newspaper, National Assembly defends Buhari's $4.9 billion loan plan. APC, PDP clash over debts. All countries engaged in deficit financing were still within borrowing limit. Senate, Buhari's loan for budget financing, not for looting, as done by PDP, says ruling party. APC borrowing to finance corrupt lifestyles of its leaders and their cronies, alleges PDP. Now, for those Nigerians expecting that the National Assembly will scrutinize this latest loan request, please just forget that idea, because the National Assembly is already defending the latest request. But above the masthead of the Punch newspaper is the story which Gbajabiamila is said to be denying. Southern secession is not different from Boko Haram ISWAP. Gbajabiamila, that's the Punch newspaper, also reporting the same speech which he gave yesterday. So he will need to clarify his speech if it is being misunderstood one way or the other. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, Nigeria now owing 35.5 trillion local debt, stands at 21 trillion. Federal government owes 29.5 trillion, states owe 6 trillion. World Bank Group, AFDB Group dominate creditors list. Bilateral creditors include China, France, Germany, Japan, India. We have borrowed from across the country, across the world. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, Khan expresses worries over migration of Boko Haram to Kaduna, says it's dangerous, bad omen. But you expect that if we are hitting hard these Boko Haram terrorists in the northeast, you must also track where they are running to, so that they don't go and create a safe haven somewhere else and start unleashing mayhem. It is a no-brainer for military strategists. And I hope the military high command will take that into consideration. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, Southeast Parliamentary Caucus moves to rescue Kanu, advocates political solution to federal government IPOB face-off, condemns rising insecurity, lawlessness in Igbo land, backs IPOB on cessation of stay-at-home orders. Miscreants, criminals taking advantage of separatist agitations, Gbajabiamila warned. Well, I wish the Southeast Caucus good luck in trying to rescue Kanu. If a political solution can be found, I think it will be better for everybody. Now, the Leadership newspaper, 45 days to PDP convention, 45 days to PDP convention. North, Southeast, high presidential ticket. Southwest six-party chairmanship. Consultation on zoning intensifies. Ugwai committee begins sitting today. New chairman can't assume office until Secondus leaves or resigns. Now, PDP, well, we'll see how it pans out because Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians expect the PDP to zone the presidency to the south, period. Because if they don't, well, I'm sure Nigerians know what to do. Daily Trust newspaper, Naira's free fall continues as Nigerians rush to hold dollars. $1 sells at 565 Naira. Government officials, elites, rush for forex. Citizens opt for foreign goods at all costs. Coins, firms spend $55 billion on foreign consultant workers. If you now want to know why the Naira is plunging, well, there it is. Now, the Business Day newspaper, rising GDP growth, slowing inflation, unlikely to pave way for rate cut. Yes, as Nigeria's MPC decides, yes, the Monetary Policy Committee will be meeting.
Okay.
And they are meeting from today till tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, Emmanuel Efeni, we've run out of time, so we want to thank you very much. But I'd like to draw attention to page 16 of the Punch newspaper, the editorial of the Punch today.
Lover of editorial.
His favorite thing in the world.
Commenting on governors who have refused to appoint commissioners and who are running the equivalent of a one-man show in their states. And that editorial talks specifically about the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, who months after his election, almost a year after, he's not appointed commissioners. He's not the only one. Others have done the same thing. Even the president of Nigeria, when he got back to office, it took him months before he could set up a cabinet. Persons who refer to as noisemakers. Unfortunately, those ones have not even been able to make any significant noise. But that's another matter for another day. Thank you, Efeni.